because that's happening. Well, we still got a couple minutes. I'm sure. I think a few more people will pop on. I'll repeat this in a few minutes when we get started, but just those of you who are here now, I'm hoping that today's meeting will be kind of a shorter one. I think we've got just a couple things left from chapter 4, one thing from chapter 5, and chapter 6 is really mostly LWIA Title I technical stuff and the process of developing the plan. So that's a super easy one. Hey, Rob, since you're on, I have a quick question for you that's Perkins related. Are you working on the comprehensive local needs assessment now, or is that, I think Kathy Swinson was still the coordinator when it came out the first time, originally back in 2019, 2020. Have you talked to her about that at all, or?
No, I'm getting through the first week of the first full week of February is where I'm going to start my planning with CLNA, because there's several items that have come up that are due by the end of January. So I just wanted to dedicate my energy to that first, and then I will start my planning for the CLNA starting that first full week of February. But no, I have not started, but yes, I'm in contact with Kathy on occasion about that. We know that we're going to be looking at that shortly.
Awesome. If there's any data or anything you need that I can help with, please feel free to reach out. I think the data packet from this whole region plan should be useful to you with that. But if there's anything specific that Kathy can't get, just let me know. I'll help in any way.
Thank you very much. And I do have one request. If there's any way that you can actually turn up your microphone, just barely. I think I'm becoming deaf as I get older, but like that open room, it makes it a little harder for us to hear you.
It does, and believe it or not, I'm pretty sure this mic is actually better than it was a few months ago. So I'll just have to remember to really project. So there's just one mic and it's in the middle of the room.
I'm sorry, I'll have to turn this up.
It's just the mic.
Need a password.
I don't know if that could control the mic though. Yeah.
Never mind, that was really.
No, I mean, maybe it does. There's different technologies that do different things, but I will try to remember to project. But Kelly, don't think I'm yelling at you.
Okay.
Just projecting. All right, it is 1:01. I've got just a couple more people popping in, so I will go ahead and start. We are recording, so just keep that in mind, that anything that comes across your microphones or your video camera will be captured forever and could go viral with the right promotion and algorithms at play. So if you are not actively contributing and speaking and you're joining us remotely, please put yourself on mute, unmute yourself to talk, or raise your hand, or use the chat feature. I will try to keep an eye on that as well. Those of you who are joining us here in person, welcome. Help yourself to the amazing array of snacks that all of our virtual people are missing out on. And with that, this is our LWIA 23 Regional Planning Development Session on January 24th of 2024. We hopefully have a pretty quick agenda today. We have just a few items left over from our discussion on chapter 4 last week. Chapter 5, there's really just one item that I want to kind of discuss and brainstorm with you, but might not actually make it into the regional plan this cycle, might be something for future cycles. And then chapter 6 is very technical, WIA Title I stuff, and then the plan development process and a narrative on that. So as far as the ask of the team, today should go pretty quickly, and if we get through it, then next week, we might not need a larger group setting. We could do some more targeted grant or plan work. There's so many grants and plans for grants and cycles that I get confused, so. I don't see anyone that is here that has not been at least the last meeting, so I won't have us do a round the table introduction this time. Just to kind of save on some time. So with that, I thank you for being here. I welcome you. And I'm going to get this slide deck ready in just 1 second-ish. Share screen, that screen. That's pretty. There we go. All right, so look at that. We are back to LWIA 23, Local Workforce Innovation Area 23. Like I said, we're gonna just kind of do a recap of where we've been over the last few weeks. We'll talk about chapter 4 a little bit, finish that up, and then do a little discussion on chapter 5, and just chapter 6 is just if you have questions. Just because I know you look forward to this at every meeting and having me reading the same thing over and over again, so it just is imprinted on your frontal lobe like it is mine. WIA is landmark legislation that's designed to strengthen and improve our nation's public workforce system and help get Americans, including youth, and those with significant barriers to employment, into high-quality jobs and careers, and help employers hire and retain skilled workers. So that is why we are here. We are LWIA 23. That refers to that 13 region area, and it also refers to us as an entity, the local workforce board, the partners, and all of us that are here doing the work of LWIA 23. Tony, can you keep an eye on the waiting room in the chat? When I have this,
Looking at the chat, I was just, yeah, I don't think I have designated as a host.
okay, then give me just a second. Something. Hold on 1 second, guys. All right, now you should have that capability. All right, now we're back on track. So who are our partners? Everyone, you all, you and more. What was our chapter 1 was the workforce analysis. We looked at the data packet that led us to the conclusion that we will maintain the same target industries that we had in our previous grant cycle: manufacturing, construction, and building, healthcare, education, and TDL. The in-demand occupations listed in the data packet, and then using data from other resources that include occupations that don't necessarily require a licensure or certificate will be included, and then the employment needs as stated or collected from employers. Chapter 2 is where we looked at our service integration and strategies for that. So we did an analysis, a full SWOT analysis on services in the area, and looked at our capacity for providing those services and what additional supportive services are available in the region beyond just our partners that are sitting at the table. And there is still some work being done on the one-stop operators service integration self-assessment. But we did have some discussion on that last week that helped move that along a bit. So for chapter 3, we settled on these 6 goals that are in line with each of the 3 Illinois state goals. And as I compile all the notes and the input, we will flesh out those goals a bit more. So you will have a chance to see all of that once the rough draft of the regional plan is ready. So then chapter 4, last week we had some really good discussion. Since a lot of chapter 4 is on policies, we were able to skip quite a few of those sections. We had discussions on supporting state strategies with our core partners. We had some homework to do. So Tony reached out to those partners to get input on what has changed since the last time we assessed the coordination, the services available, and how referrals are made. Tony, how many do we need to follow up with?
There are, to the Title V, I haven't heard from them. Perkins, heard from Joy, Rob. Well, I'm not gonna, I don't want to leave anybody out, so when I get back to the office, I will make sure I got who I've got has responded, and I will follow up with those that do not respond.
Okay,
So when I looked after our meeting today, I had a lot more responses than I had originally.
okay,
So we're doing better than
good deal. Well, if you are on the call remotely and you remember getting an email from Tony, but you're realizing you didn't respond to it, please go ahead and send in a response, or he will reach out to you later this afternoon. So then another item of homework was the youth local activities. And as I dug into that more, and what exactly the youth framework was, I think that goes along with some of the Title I youth activities more and how we work with partners. So that is something that's in discussion with our Title I partners.
I was just sitting in, you know, like. That's for my meeting, my other meeting.
A lot of meetings, but I didn't want to take up a whole lot of time today. If it's something we could work out, so good deal. We talked about the customer service self-assessment, so thank you guys for your input on that. And then this is where I believe we left off training activities. I think we got a bit into the work-based learning strategies that are in the area. We didn't really get to setting any goals for work-based learning. And then I wanted to get an assessment of professional development in the region. So Debbie, do you have the notes from, that's what I'm forgetting. Do you have the notes from last time of where we left off with? You know, I would forget something. While she's looking, our partners who are here and joining us remotely, what work-based learning activities? I believe we talked about like 8th grade career conference. We talked about job fairs at the high school levels. What other types of work-based learning experiences are going on in the region?
Are you talking K-12 or through K-14, like?
Yep, all the above, just what's out there. The more information I have, the better, then I can narrow it down to
Yeah.
fit the plan. And also I'm nosy and I just want to know what are we doing out there?
Yeah, we've got lots of SOEs for our CTE programs at the college, especially with BCT. Kurt Haney has a really cool display of an actual house front where he has the students practice installing the windows, doing the soffit work, doing, you know, that edge of the roof, the siding, and then disassembles and has the next class do it. Also with Tech 2 Day, they're in class a few days a week, but then working with an employer, plugging in those skills and getting feedback from the employer on anything they feel that they need to continue to work on with the students.
Awesome. Just real quick for those of you who aren't familiar, CTE is career and technical education. So what maybe traditionally we would have called back in the day vocational programs. And then BCT is building, construction, and trade. Building, construction, technology. So think carpentry.
There was also Teens with Tools this past summer that was really well received. I believe that was like junior high-ish. Chris would know more about that.
I think Bonnie did talk about that last week.
I
And then
get
Courtney Youngke talking about LIFT and ERCA. And Chris, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just confirming. It was 6th, 7th, and 8th graders with Teens with Tools, and we're looking at that for this next summer again. So another opportunity.
Awesome.
And IUCC has the apprenticeship program with Clay County Hospital for nursing.
Yes, that is awesome. We don't want to leave that out. Rob put you on the spot, but do you know if there's been any headway made with extending that to Crawford County Hospital, or is that still in the works?
I spoke this week with Sharmila and Carissa Miller. They're working on several other hospitals. I believe that your internship or apprenticeship coordinator that you had employed with LWIA 23 was very helpful. I know that they're trying to do more hospitals, but it is a slower process than initial.
Awesome, thank you.
And basically, I left off with section I, and then the next thing was action item that you were going to accept goals for the
Oh,
work day.
so I didn't follow through on my own action.
So there's not a whole lot as far as this.
Yeah, like the very last thing. So I saw something come in the chat. So I gotta use a different. All right, so yes, Health Off, C-Tech, awesome. Summer camps in Effingham with Courtney, with County, with Benchworks. Courtney Youngke, was that you, the Benchwork?
Yes, Benchworks. We had it in Effingham and Teotopolis. It's getting extended over into Diedrich, and we're talking with Altamont as well, but they're and trying to run out longer programs too. It's hands-on activities with like wood making and a younger generation, a younger demographic, but I've had older kids participate in it as well. I anticipate about 250 students for the 3 programs that we're doing this coming summer.
That's pretty awesome. I don't know that I was aware of that, so I'd like to have that on my radar. Good deal. Risa, in the comments, kids camp at Lincoln Trail College this summer and also summer theater program. Risa, are you in a spot where you can elaborate a little bit?
Sure. Tana Ambrose has pulled the colleges together, the IECC colleges together, and we're working on a kids camp program across IECC. Sharmila is very involved in that. But we're working, it came out of an HR roundtable that I hold quarterly in Crawford County, that the businesses wanted to engage with the kids. So we'll be looking at 5th through 8th grade is the focus.
Thank you. That sounds really cool.
It's still being developed. We have another meeting here in a week or two, but I think we're looking at engaging probably 30, 40 kids. We'll see where that lands.
So the summer theater program, I know maybe not necessarily for our area, arts and entertainment is not one of our target industries, but I know at the state level, and even as close as LWIA 17, they're really targeting arts, entertainment, local, like theater, that kind of thing. I think they're really pushing for like movie production and movie filming in LWIA 17. So can you tell me a little bit more about the background of the summer theater program and who's like helping out with that? What initiatives are behind that?
Who should I direct them to for that?
Like direct the program sponsors to?
Yeah, how do you want, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't understand. what are you needing me to do on that? I
Oh, I
apologize.
just wanted some background information, if you knew who was sponsoring or what blossomed that idea, because from my perspective, I'm seeing that at the state level and some of our surrounding LWIAs, but I didn't know of a need really here in our area, so I wanted to get more information.
So again, I would direct you to Sharmella, but it's through the summer, it's through the theater program at Lincoln Trail College. They do it every year. And I think they're doing it 4 to 6 weeks. It's a morning, something that's done in the morning. To your point, they build sets, music. It's a variety of programs.
Awesome, thank you. Any other work-based learning strategies going on in the area? All right, well, let's go to professional development. So in our regional planning guide, that particular section in chapter 4 was looking for us to kind of give what's the word I'm looking for? An inventory of what professional development is out there or our frontline staff are taking part in to be trained in equity and access, trauma-informed care, motivational interviewing, and other topics concerning customer-centered service delivery. So those of you who have staff or teams who work with individuals, be it job seekers or employers, if you work with our customers directly, what kind of professional development is there for those frontline workers?
Our career planners are seeking specialists. And specifically, I know ICAP has trainings. I don't know that we have a plan for this year in this short period of time, but I'm sure they usually do like a yearly or an annual training.
Okay, so I got the FDC training, FCD,
Family and community development.
awesome. And then what was the other one?
ICA, it's the Illinois Association of. I don't remember. It's IACCAA, and they have a lot of trainings that are like motivational interviewing skills and those kind of things.
Okay, awesome. So we got WIA frontline staff doing the FCD training and then the ICA trainings. What other professional development is out there? There's WIA Wednesday webinars as well through ICSPS. We're just adding to the alphabet soup today. Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Services. What else is out there?
ICS, PCS, I feel like I always get the letters in the wrong order. They also offer a lot of training for our adult education staff, whether it be how to run an effective classroom, testing, and many other topics.
And ICSPS does some trainings for Perkins too, probably, so. Probably right along there in the same vein, the same lines of that human-centered service. Courtney Yockey says in the chat, leadership, Crawford County.
Yeah, I don't know if that specifically hits to the opportunities for staff to train in like trauma-informed care, some of those, but it is a longstanding leadership building, leadership development program in Crawford County.
Awesome, thank you. Hey, Lane.
Hi.
Welcome. Help yourself to snacks. I missed something in the chat. Is that a new one? Universal design. Yes, okay. I think at one point that was coming through ICSPS or OCCRL. There's another one. Universal design for curriculum, but I think that from my perspective, I knew it for curriculum, but I think it does expand beyond just curriculum. So universal design. Carolyn Jorgensen says step through doors is a high school work skills training program for students with disabilities. Awesome. Thank you, Carolyn. I feel like that sounds familiar, so it might already be in our current plan. If it's not, I'm going to reach out to you, Carolyn, and get more details. Or if you have something ready, feel free to shoot it over. Freddie says that veteran staff are required to pass training through National Veteran Training Institute. Oh, it moves too fast. For their positions. So NVTI also provides additional professional development training for the staff. National Veterans Training Institute. Awesome, love it. And then Carolyn also put in there, it might be in the plan, but we are expanding to. Carolyn, do you have the ability to give me a little information right now, or do you want me to follow up with you?
Well, excuse me. Most certainly. Our high school STEP program works with students in the high school with all kinds of job seeking and job training skills. They get them into a work environment that's part-time. They supervise them. They do some job coaching, kind of bridging them to either competitive employment when they graduate or moving on to some sort of training program. And DRS follows them multiple times a year. They interface with the student. They do counseling and guidance. That's what our counselors do. And then our high schools are the ones that do, like, soft skills and, different strategies for job seeking and resume skills. And so it's a pretty comprehensive program for students with disabilities in the high schools. And we have quite a few over and only and are really expanding them at this point. And I know they also do it in the other offices that cover, LWIA, the LWIA area. It's an expanding program right now, through this type of transition program. So we are always seeking new schools, and we have new ones coming on board and getting contracts every year. And it's just a growing aspect of, our DRS programs. And then additionally, our offices have a project on expanding our referrals through the community colleges. So we're doing some educational outreach there. It's not really youth, but we're trying to garner more referrals for individuals with disabilities that need support through the community college experience. We also do university training, but particularly targeting the community colleges so that people with disabilities can have access to the financial resources and the counseling and guidance from DRS.
Awesome. I love that. That is really cool. I'm trying to think of what all, I might follow up with you, Carolyn, to get a list of what high schools you're currently working with, and then try to see across the rest of our region what high schools have staff or something similar to staff. I think in our current plan, we talk about Easy having the Life Academy. But is that all that we have in this area? Or?
So Lori Woodruff works at the high school that she's employed by Easy, and she has what's called the SVE program. And I'm wondering if it's similar to STEP. So students have an IEP to qualify, but then they have job coaching and actually work off site. Sometimes for the district, custodial work could be in a restaurant. And they do that and actually get high school credit for it, but it's working on those soft skills as well and job training.
This is Carolyn. That's what we do. Yeah, it's what we do with certain schools that are under contract with us. We provide the funding for the school to have the staff to do that, and they kind of monitor the student progress and give updates to our counselors, and it's very similar to that, that's a similar type of program that we have. And for us, it's an IEP or a 504.
That was gonna be my next question. Awesome. Miriam,
Hey, so I was just gonna briefly mention a little bit of like in-house training and then a little bit of like our kind of like our clientele training, if that's cool.
yeah,
So we have the RESEA program, which is the Reemployment Services and Eligibility Assessment. That's what that stands for. And I can put it in chat if you need. But that's one of our giant grants that we have right now. And we have a lot of our employment service staff actually doing so. A lot of the people that get kind of pulled for this, they're getting information across the board on just resources, on interviewing, on resumes. They're also getting like partner information. And that's where we're doing a lot of our, it's quote unquote mandated, but I mean, we're just doing better about it now, where we do our referrals to our Title I partners. So anyone who is profiled for this program is automatically getting a referral to our Title I partners as well. So we're trying to keep base and track of that, but that's all like training for the client. And then we're trying to be better on employment services side about doing some more in-house training. So for example, here this week, tomorrow, actually, we're going to have a mandatory veterans training for our employment service staff in our Belleville office. And then on Valentine's Day, we're actually going to have all of our employment services staff from across the region. So all 9 of our offices and all 8 of our LWIAs get together, and they're going to be given instruction on employment services, like A to Z kind of thing. And that's going to be also a little bit of cross training on our partners and like where we stand in the grand scheme of things, as far as all the different Title I, Title II, all the different partners, and how we interconnect with each other, how we work with each other, and like what our partners actually do and like what we're supposed to be doing for our partners. So hopefully that's a little extra blurb you can throw in there.
definitely. Thank you. IDES. All right, do we have any other partners with professional development for equity, access, trauma-informed care, and other topics concerning customer-centered service delivery? This has been really good, and I've learned several new things just in the last 2 minutes, so that's awesome. All right, if you think of any later on as you're walking to your car and you're like, oh no, forgot to say this, just jot it down, hold it into a paper airplane and throw it at me, shoot an email over, leave me a voicemail, whatever works for you. All right, we're going to move on to tracking basic services. So this is new. It was not in our current grant or current plan. And this from the guide literally says, how does the local area track non-enrolling basic services provided to reportable individuals? So from my perspective, I know Title I, we offer some services at no cost to anyone, just the general public. And then I'm pretty sure Title II can do that to some extent, but beyond that, I have no context. So what basic services are out there for our serving agencies that you provide without looking at eligibility? And then how do you track that if you track it at all?
Jamie, one thing that Title II would do is we offer the Constitution test, and someone doesn't have to be in our program to be able to take the Constitution test and meet the minimum requirement for Illinois high school diploma. Also, someone could be a graduate of their home high school, whether it's in our country or another country. And if English isn't their first language, and maybe they even have an advanced degree, they could still take ESL or ELA classes with us, and they would not be, they would be eligible because they're skill deficient. I hope I'm making sense on that.
You are, but maybe they're not determined eligible by traditional, they need a GED or a high school equivalency, but they're determined eligible based on being skill deficient despite having that high school diploma or advanced degree. So with those services, are you tracking those people who attend those classes, be it Constitution or ESL? Or it's just kind of come on in, free for all, we'll ask your name and make you feel welcome, but we're not actually tracking it formally? What does that look like for you guys?
So ESL, yes, we are tracking all of the students. Every student fills out a profile more like, and we have information that we enter into a system that is ran by our governing agency, which is ICCB, Illinois Community College Board. If a student comes to us and just needs the Constitution administered, I would not say that we do not make them fill out the profile. We would just administer the Constitution and we keep track of that. We don't have a lot of people in our area that come looking just for the Constitution. They are typically taking the Constitution as part of their GED. But with that being said, they could be taking another test besides the GED to achieve the Illinois high school diploma, and they don't have to go to classes. They can study on their own, do some sort of online program, but they need the Constitution test. So they would come to us just for that. And then that would meet their graduation requirement with the Regional Office of Education.
Awesome. For us here, Title I, how do we track those people that just come in looking for job search assistance? A resume, look
We
over? No tracking?
Not if they're not enrolled.
Anyone else out there, whatever service you typically provide, you'll kind of go above and beyond and serve someone who might not traditionally be eligible, but they come in off the street, you're not going to turn them away. Do you have a formalized way of tracking that? Or an informal way that you just track it in your own little office, but it doesn't necessarily get shared out? All right. Good deal. Thank you. That one's new, and I could be misinterpreting that, but non-enrolling basic services provided to reportable individuals. Is that how you're taking it? All right, good deal. Hey, I didn't make up these questions. All right, so with that, that really sums us up for Chapter 4. Chapter 5 has two parts to it: performance goals and metrics, and that is very Title I. It looks like I do have something in the chat. Internal track, this is from Miriam. Internal tracking is just tracked via like a sign-in sheet. Okay, but no formal tracking for reporting purposes. I got you. Sign-in sheets. Yes, that's good to know. Do we do sign-in sheets?
We do profile sheets,
Okay.
which is the same thing. Get basic information.
We keep those.
Yeah, we keep them.
Good.
We also put them in the IWDS system too.
Oh, so we do put that in.
Uh-huh. Just the basic information, their name, birthday, address.
Cool.
What?
You're talking about like the swipe card stuff we used to have, but it's not.
No, we do it on profile sheet now. We enter it ourselves.
So they're not enrolled. They're not certified.
No, they're not enrolled or certified.
If nobody walks in the door and says, you know what, I need to use your computer to fill out a job application.
We have them do a profile sheet.
And
we put
then
it in
they
the
put it in-
system.
And that shows up on the resource room.
Awesome, thank you. Good to know. All right, chapter 5 performance goals is very Title I specific. I know all of our core partners have similar performance goals or performance measures, at least. Their goals are slightly different. They're all negotiated with their appropriate state organization, state agency. But this seems to be very specific to WIA Title I. So I'll just bounce on down to the second part. B does talk about focusing on the return on investment. So specifically the question that caught my eyes, what new service strategies are used to address regional educational and training needs based on promising return on investment? And what we as Title I use to calculate return on investment is our direct training dollars that have been expended in the region compared to the total salary or wages of our participants in those adult and dislocated worker programs. And when I asked if there is a prescribed return on investment formula that we should be using, the answer was not really. You use whatever makes sense for you guys. And that does make sense for me. But at the same time, that is just specific to only WIA Title I, 2 programs in that Title I. So I wanted to just, for brainstorming, say, we'll keep what we're doing for this current cycle going, but maybe for the next planning cycle, what are our partners out there doing to determine your return on investment? What are you measuring? Are you looking at programs specifically? Are you looking at activities within those programs? What do you consider for your return on investment?
This is Carolyn. I'm not sure if I'm hearing your question accurate or not, Jamie, but we track competitive integrated employment outcomes as a result of our job placement or training programs.
So you're looking at their placement rate, how many people get?
Yes, when they're placed in jobs and the successful completion of a minimum of 90 days in the job.
Are you looking at all at the dollars that go to those services or getting those individuals into work and comparing that to anything to see a return on investment as far as?
Oh, okay, no, we really don't. I mean, they may do that at the state level, but not out of the offices that I know of. I mean, we just track like, is there a competitive outcome or not? We sort of have office goals for the amount of competitive outcomes we have annually, but they may look at it at the state level, but that's not something that's really at the office level, the dollars and cents. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to misinterpret your question. I apologize if I did.
Oh, no, I think your interpretation made a lot of sense actually. And that's why I'm asking the dollar question, is because that's the one I'm struggling with a little bit more. Because to me, it does seem like it's worth sharing, and it might paint a better picture to show like, here are real people getting into real jobs and this is the impact we're making. But of course, we got to satisfy our dollar people, our numbers people who are thinking about the dollars spent, right? So I think that's one of the reasons why ROI is included in this and a requirement, but I just wanted to see what other ROI calculations are out there. But could we look at this from a different perspective in the future?
Jamie, I had to step away for just a second. So you're talking about the ROI on specific programs, is that right?
If you look at specific programs or break it down even further into the ROI on specific activities, or do you not calculate ROI at all? Like what methods are out there?
So from an adult education standpoint, and I'm going to talk more about students that are enrolled in GED, even though this is somewhat the same for ESL, but I'm going to talk about GED. There are two different levels. There is an ABE, which is a very basic level, someone that comes in with a lower reading or a lower math score. And then there's what we call kind of a higher level or adult secondary education. Those are paid to us. We have to generate so many hours of students in the classroom. And there is a rate that is set by the state that we have to make that, we have to be able to show that rate. So I know I'm probably not explaining that really well, but student attendance hours are very important to us. That would be one area. The second one would be students have to achieve a post-test in Title II, so adult education, after they've been with us for a period of time, 40 hours of instruction. They have to take a post-test. On that post-test, they have to be able to show that they have made a certain amount of gain. So on that post-test, they have to score higher than they did on the pre-test. That would be another area that we consider in adult education. If someone achieves the Illinois high school diploma or passes portions of the test to meet the requirement for the Illinois high school diploma is another area that we look at. We also look at employment in the second quarter after completing their GED or Illinois high school diploma with us. Feel like I'm missing something on that one, but those are what I would say are some of the return on investment that we look at. What I will say is we don't necessarily call it a return on investment in education, but those would be the things that I would interpret as return on investment.
Are you like applying any dollar figures to those hours? So if the hour rate is you want to have a student participate in 40 hours, do you then convert that into, so for every student that we spend 40 hours with, that is 10,000 grant dollars that is injected into the workforce, and then kind of look at that from the return on investment perspective from there with the dollar amount, or is it just simply the hours?
It is the hours, but attached to those hours are dollar amounts. And our grant, we have to have a certain percentage has to be direct instruction, a certain percentage has to be some other things. So the other 55% is divided up a little bit differently. But within our two major grants that we have under adult education, we have to show 45% direct instruction. So that is the teacher in the classroom. That is not any kind of support staff. That is not some of the other things that you would be thinking about that we do within adult education. That is the teacher in the classroom. 45%, at least 45% of our dollars have to be spent teaching students. I'm not sure that I answered your question, but with the hours that a student attends, there is a certain amount of money we have to generate to show that we're meeting that 45%, not just how our salaries are divided up. I'm trying to make something that is a little bit complex, very simple, and I don't know that I'm doing a very good job of it.
You know what, I kind of get it because it is that weird nuanced thing that also we deal with in WIA a lot. I think I do want to dig into it a little more because I think that is definitely a way of measuring ROI. I just want to understand better because that's me and I like to understand things that I don't necessarily need to understand. So be prepared for me to pop into your office this afternoon or sometime tomorrow to harass you about some more of those details.
Girl, I got you. And I'm actually pulling it up right now. So, a student, an ABE rate is $136.39. Our ASE rate is $122.75. And our VOC rate, which would be our ICAPS classes, is $170.49. So those are not things that we negotiate. Those are things that ICCB sets down for us and says, you must meet these or you will not receive the same level of funding next year. So that also stands true with, we don't negotiate any kind of performance measures. The performance measures are told to us by ICCB. And then if we don't meet those performance measures, then we're put on a watch list. So there's no negotiating that goes on for Title II. I know you talked about different programs maybe negotiate some of their terms. There's no negotiating that goes on for Title II. Title II is given performance measures and you are required to meet them or you're on a watch list and you will have less funding the following year or could have less funding.
Do you think ICCB negotiates with the Department of Ed on what their performance goals would be at the state level? And then from there, just doles out the assigned performance goals to the areas?
So ICCB negotiates with Octave, which is the federal adult education dollars. So when we talk about federal pass-through dollars, some of our dollars are federal pass-through dollars and some of our dollars are allocated by the state. So adult education does have a budget line item. So yes, the state negotiates a rate with Octave at the federal level. Then each state gives their performance measures out to their people. So I'm speaking about what Illinois does, solely about what Illinois does, not what any other adult education provider does in other states.
Awesome. Thank you. That was me going into my little weeds and wanting to understand.
I'm in a rabbit hole here. Get me out.
I'm good at that. Sorry. All right. Awesome. No, but that is helpful. I like it. Any other ROI ideas or examples? All right. Awesome. So then that pretty much takes care of chapter 5. Chapter 6 then just goes into WIA Title I, fiscal management and accessibility and plan development process. In our current plan for chapter 6, it is very basic. I think we do get into some details about door staff helping with just assessing for accessibility and offering suggestions on low cost or no cost solutions for improvements to physical environment. But other than that, it is very much cut and dry. Carolyn, I might have you just take a look, or I might send you what we have currently for chapter 6 and what Doris does, and just have you confirm if that still makes sense or if there's something that can be expanded on that. It's an action item that I promise I will get to you.
Okay.
Thank you. And then I think really, do we have any other, and then the last part of chapter 6 is just me explaining this whole plan development process, who all was involved, how often we met, and how input was provided. So that's not really anything that needs to be a major discussion here. Do you guys have anything else that we've talked about today that you want to add to or elaborate on, ask more questions, go down more rabbit holes later?
Jamie, this is Carolyn. You know, when you were talking about that ROI, it occurred to me, every case in DRS is a little bit different. You know, I don't really know, I would have really no idea how to get the staff costs because every single staff costs differently. But we do contract with community rehabilitation providers for job placement. And then in our STEP program, we pay them too. Those are like really contracts. So it's sort of like there is a dollar amount attached to those providers giving us services on DRS's behalf. I don't know if any of that information is what you're looking for or not. It's not really the sum total of what we expend overall with staff time, and we don't have a grant that grants don't work the same way as other titles do. But if that information would be helpful, just reach out to me and I can double check on those figures. I kind of have a ballpark in my head on some of them, but I can give you a dollar amount. I don't really think it's what you're looking for, but it's the only thing that occurs to me given this conversation on an ROI, but it's not the sum total of every dollar that would be put into a case because of staff, the cost of our staff. It's just what we're paying the community rehab providers to get this person competitive integrated employment through their services.
Yeah, for sure. So it is good to know that and a seed is planted. And I think that I will be reaching out to you just for more brainstorming as we go later on. Not tomorrow, not this week, not till after this plan is done, but it is in my notes of things to consider as we, work through the next 4 years and then start to get ready for the next cycle, because I like the concept of being able to show the workforce dollars in the area, not just WIA workforce dollars, but in the area, in LWIA 23, all of the money that is going to support workforce development and what that outcome is. I think that speaks to a lot of, especially our business-minded people. They see that ROI, they know what that means. They see that dollar amount, they're like, there's good stuff going on. It's an easy measure for them, but it also is so nebulous in the grant world and how we all have different ways of measuring success or training or what all there is. I just think I wanted to just get some brainstorm juices going to see, especially with there not being a specific, this is how you need to calculate ROI for workforce activities in your region. Just wanted to get an idea of what is out there, what could we consider in the future. But that's a little much for me to bite off right before the regional plan is due.
I agree with you. This is Carolyn, that that information, that dollar figure is helpful. I think it would be really, they may have that through Darris, and in the future we could take a look at that, Jamie, but I think that it's a good point, and it just got my wheels turning a little bit, so we can always talk about that later. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Carolyn. And in the chat, Courtney just validated me. It'd be great to track, and economic justifications are needed. Thank you, Courtney. Appreciate that. So when I have all these great ideas for ROI, I'm going to Courtney and he's going to help me figure it out.
You're smarter than me, Jamie. Come on now.
We've been through this, I know. All right. So there are, at the end of chapter 5 and 6, there are again, describe what you're doing using a workforce equity lens. So again, kind of that same, what's in the current plan, just expanding on it a bit of really assessing where are we doing good at, but where are we not doing so well, and what can we do to try to figure out why. So all of that will be included as well. So the homework really that I have for you guys is just to, if Tony reaches out to you to get your feedback or your input on the strategies for service updates, respond to that. And if there's any specific inquiries to any of you, to kind of fill in some gaps, or as I go through and I'm compiling things, if more questions come up, I'll reach out to you. And I just would really appreciate, I understand everyone's time is very valuable and there's nowhere near enough of it, and you have a million other things you're doing. You might even have 3 or 4 other regional plans you're helping with. Just a timely response, whether it's a phone call, a quick email, or here's a link to that information, at the very least, would be vastly appreciated. So looking at the timeline, January 2024, we are just about done with that. We have gotten through all of our major things for each of the chapters that I really wanted to discuss. We have next week on the books for a group meeting, but I don't feel like we need it at this time for a large group meeting. I would like to open it up for service integration self-assessment. If we need that time, how does our one-stop operator consortium feel about using next Wednesday to focus back on service integration?
I think that would be a great idea, Jamie. I think that we can go back and revisit and kind of hone in on some of the areas that we struggled a little bit with as we were going through the service integration.
Okay, so I will send out an update to the regional planning team at large. There will not be a general meeting, but for one-stop operator, we will have that time designated for service integration self-assessment. We'll work out the details of that. So then what I need the team at large to know then is our next steps is to prepare. We have to have this plan posted for public comment by February 14th. So what I will do is take all of the input from you guys, from these meetings, from the surveys, all of the notes, everything to put into our regional plan. And my goal is to have a rough draft done by like February 9th for you all to take a look at and us to post by February 14th. Now, during that public commentary period, if you have not had a chance to give your input on that rough draft, we can still make edits and changes during that public comment period. So I want to have as much information and all of our partners to have given feedback before then, but we do have a little bit of flexibility. So I don't want this to sound like, oh no, she's gonna have it done on the 9th and I have to have it all read and notes done by the 10th because I don't want to spend my Valentine's Day doing regional planning stuff. But I want you to be aware that that is the goal and that is kind of the timeline that I'm looking at. From there, the public commenting period lasts 30 days. And then pending the input from partners in the public, we will do a final draft and have that submitted to our local workforce board by our next board meeting, which is March 18th. As soon as our board approves that draft, it will be submitted by March 31st to the Department of Commerce for review by the review team and approval by the governor. There will be most likely a review and then they'll come back and tell us, okay, change these things or make these updates before we get a final approval. And that will all take place in April, May, June-ish. And then by July 1st, we will have our regional plan will be active. It will start July 1st, 2024, and it will be our 4-year plan. So we are definitely making progress in the timeline. And the hardest lift for the group is done. Now we just got to get all of it together into one document, which will be fun. So, like I said, we'll not plan a large group meeting on the 31st. We'll work on service integration assessment, and I'll make sure to send that out to everyone, even those who weren't able to join us today, so they know. As you're just, ruminating on all things regional planning and you want to access some of our resources, there you go. Check out LWIA.net/regional-plan. It's all still there and I'm still updating it. And that's where our draft will be as well. I'll let you all know when the draft is ready to view. You will be able to access it from our website and view from there. All right. So any other last questions, concerns, need some clarifications on what to expect next? Expect possibly some specific questions. Expect to be notified when the draft is ready for your review. Expect public commenting period to start February 14th, and then expect to know mid-March. Here is our final draft, or what we're submitting to DCO.
Jamie?
Yes.
Casey, hey, is the one-stop operator meeting by Zoom or are we meeting somewhere?
Since we have this room booked, we can meet here in person, or we can do Zoom, whatever is best for one-stop operator, or both.
I am gonna have to be by Zoom because I've got some other meetings on campus that day.
Okay. Casey, would you prefer Zoom as well?
Either one works for me. I do feel like we might be more productive in person. Chris, you're laughing. I also feel like our brains work better in the morning, but we can stick with 1 o'clock if we need to. That's fine.
Do you want to have us come here? Do you want to try to go to Lakeland in the meeting?
I think, yeah, I think I'm good.
Because I think that way we'll be here with you in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
You want to ride back?
I'm sorry, yeah, I could meet at Lakeland.
And then Carolyn, you prefer Zoom, correct?
Yes, please.
All right, we'll hammer out some of the details and get to a one-stop operator about next week's meeting. But we'll definitely have a Zoom option, it sounds like, and then we'll figure out exactly where the in-person aspect could happen that would be optimal for everybody. How about that? Or as many people as possible. All right, any other regional planning questions, concerns? You guys thankful that the hard part's over?
I bet you are.
Well, one of the hard.
For her, it's just started.
Ah, good luck, Jamie.
Okay, I'm looking at my calendar for next Wednesday. I have a meeting that gets over at 12. I could come to Effingham and be there by about 1 o'clock or so if we want to do in person in the afternoon. Up to you guys.
We do have the room booked, so it's keep it, or you guys are gonna be here, but there'll be a little gap.
Yeah. Which we could probably book. We'll work out the details this afternoon or first thing in the morning with you guys so that I'm not holding everyone else on this meeting, working on those details, but we'll figure out something that works. I just want to extend a huge thank you to all of you who stuck with us every single week. It's so appreciated. And anytime we work together, any day on any project, we are doing great things in LWIA 23. Let's keep it up. Thank you. You guys have a wonderful afternoon, evening drive safely, stay warm. Thank you and good night. All right,
Jamie, don't give everybody off yet.
I'm gonna stop recording though, okay?
I was hoping I'll be able to see the